everyone. It's Krista Leone, and I'm back with another Take Back Mondays podcast. And today we are all going to get richer. Yes, that's right. Because don't think I don't think of you guys. I'm always thinking about how to make you guys more money. And this person I've brought on the podcast today is the woman you want to connect with. After this podcast, you have to follow her. And most importantly, get her book. I mean, come on, it's really amazing. Her book is talking all about finance, and it's really well written, and it's so valuable to you. Whether you are in a career or you are a business owner, I think that there's a lot of tips that can really help you understand how to manage your finances. But most importantly, if you're thinking about starting a business, this is the woman who will take you there. So I'm pleased to welcome today Kedma. I let you introduce yourself, and I don't know how to pronounce your last name. So there you go.
It's so easy. It's O, like the alphabet.
Really?
LMNO. Yeah, just
That's
O.
cool. Oh, so you're like O, like is an Oprah, but financial version.
That's correct. Yep. Just O. When I used to teach at universities, I was Professor O. So
Nice.
sometimes I was Professor O or O, but it's always O. So yeah, keep it simple.
I like that. I like that. So Kedma,
Yes.
I have been connected with you for a while on LinkedIn, but we haven't really spoken until recently, so this is just another proof
Right.
how valuable connections are and how much it matters to take the time to get to know the people in your network. Because when we spoke, I discovered that you are a wealth of information for small business financing and startup
Yes.
funding. So I'd love to really showcase that expertise today. So we have people listening who may be in a career but thinking about starting some kind of business. They've always dreamed of it, but they don't know at all where to get started. We also have people who are just starting off in their business, and you know as well as I do that finances is always the main question, because how can we concentrate on doing what we do best if we're worried about finances? We run short on finances, we start taking too much credit.
Exactly.
It can create marital strain too if you're married, and you're trying to start a business and your partner is not willing to take on, they're not on board, or they're like, because the money is crazy, right? For in some cases, like, so tell me, like, if somebody listening now is just thinking about getting started, when should they start thinking about finances? Like, when would they be planning, and how long does that take?
Love that. So let me first bring a little bit of thought there, and then we can go to asking the question. We get confused in society with the word small because we assume small is tiny, right? Small, right? We think small, small piece of cake, or, a small person. In my line of work, small is big. So let me just bring the education in for everyone. When I say I support small business, now, funding is country by country. So if you are listening right now and you're in a different country, just know it's country by country. But in the United States, the definition of small business in the regulations is 500 employees or less. So hear me out. Small business is big business. Now I'm going to bring it real right now, this moment, and then I'll talk about my background and answer your question. I am currently working with a woman minority-owned company who found me on Verizon because I was their keynote 2 months ago, who took my book. Check this out. This is the best story. I can't even make this up. Who took my book and then created a spreadsheet of all the financials out there, and then went after government contracts. She won a contract with a state for $54 million. And I'm helping her get $30 million in financing, because small business is not small capital. Small business is 500 employees or less. So you can win a contract for $54 million, and I can help you get the financing. So let's get to that education, because we get confused and we think small is big. It's not. So that's the first thing. My background, first of all, I'm a 5th generation entrepreneur. Try finding someone who's a fifth generation. So it's in my blood, it's in my DNA. But I spent 15 years on and off working for the Small Business Administration. So you would think that's where I got my knowledge. No, I have an MBA. Did I get my knowledge there? A little. Where I really got my knowledge is I filed bankruptcy in 2001 because I had to leave a very challenging relationship. And it was the best gift I gave myself. Credit score is 450. And I took it, I navigated through that and spent 15 years uncovering every fund and every resource out there. And now I've helped tens of thousands of people figure out the game. So I am a product of what I teach. Okay. So now I'm going to answer your question. Where do we begin? But should I pause?
I think, wait. Before we get to this question, you just dropped like a major bomb on us. And I appreciate your candid truthfulness and everything because, a few people talk about their low points in their career, in their personal lives. And there's such a like shame and stigma and fear because people think that we're going to judge you in a different way if you went through some hardships. But I want
Mhm.
to just dispel that myth because I have even more respect for you by listening to that level of story. I mean, to think that you went that deep into this situation and
Yeah.
now where you're at, that's just so amazing. So I just want to honor that and say you've got,
Mm.
I love you even more because that's just amazing. And so
Thank you.
many people can't even imagine that. We're complaining about having
Right.
a 600 credit score. We're like, oh, my credit score and this and that. Think about going that low and even filing bankruptcy. That's just incredible.
Yep.
So in a sense, what you've done is you took your hardship and you learned how to get out of it. And that's what sparked your career in finance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a very ironic story. So just very simple, and then we'll go back to credit. When I filed bankruptcy, I was in Tucson, Arizona, literally right outside the bankruptcy court. I had just filed, sobbing my eyes out. I didn't know where to go next. I don't have the family that most people have. So I went back to my apartment, and 2 weeks later, I got a credit card from Capital One for $200. Now, here's where the game happened. I remember that moment and I said, why would a credit card company send me a $200 credit card when I just filed bankruptcy? I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't understand. However, it was such a symbol because as a little girl, I would play the board game Monopoly every single summer. And I know one thing about Monopoly. You could be on the board, you could have no money, all the hotels could be stacked up. But if I can get myself past go, I am going to get $200. That was the moment I said, I'm going to go back into the game. Now, my credit score was about 450. And one thing you'll know about me as a consultant, I am so transparent. I'm about to, if you can unhost, like allow me to share, I want to share something really
Absolutely.
powerful. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna ask anybody listening to this, how many consultants would actually show you their credit score? This is mine. Credit Karma, I just went on right now, 816 on TransUnion, 819 on Equifax. And you're talking to someone who had a credit score of 450. The reason I'm showing you this is I don't play. I believe that the key to helping people is transparency and trust. And so when I tell you I was at the lowest, I really was. And I know what that feels like, but I also know what it feels like to be on the other side. Okay. And
Wow.
so if you have a credit score of 615, so what? We can figure it out together, but it is definitely a roadmap. The only thing that makes me different from them and me is I'm like your Uber driver. I'm going to get you to where you want to go, but I know where to go. You can still take your own vehicle. But as an Uber driver, I know exactly where it is. I know exactly how long it'll take me. And I've been there before over and over again. That's the difference.
Wow. I'm just speechless. And I think probably people listening will be too when they hear that. And when you're down at that lowest point, do you feel like did you know where to go? Did you have like a bankruptcy, post-bankruptcy counselor, 1-800
No,
number to call? And they're like, we
no,
will fix this for you. Because I see all the
no,
time these ads like on late night TV, like, we will fix your credit. Call us. There seems to be like a whole market for that, but they
there
don't
is.
seem legit.
I'm going to tell you what I did next. I got the $200 credit card. I said to myself, the universe has just brought me in the game, and I am going to be my own advocate. I am going to navigate and I'm going to figure it out. And I did not work with anybody to build my credit. I did this all on my own. I was the one who broke the mold, which is why McGraw-Hill picked me up in 2019. I said, why would you choose an author who's never written a book in her entire life? You have thousands of opportunities for people who are, published authors. Why would you pick me in a funding space? And this is what McGraw-Hill said. Number one, you reverse engineered how people look for money. You didn't just come and say, oh, let's look at traditional. You were looking at grants. You were looking at hidden money. Number two, you did it. You figured it out and you made it happen for you and your story. And number three, you've been helping people do it ever since. So I wish I could tell you I had someone helping me. I wish I could tell you that, but I feel like wherever you are spiritually, I feel like God placed me in this scenario so I could go through the difficult, you know, dirt and mud and pain and tears so I can then confidently show people how to play the game. And maybe that's why I was given the gift of not having someone there. I wish I did. Wish I did. But my whole life is based on that. My whole life is based on nobody being there for me, which is why I wear my capes. I tell people all the time, the superhero is you. Okay. You got to be you. There's nobody coming to save you. Okay. There's
I
nobody coming to save you.
have to interrupt you there because the audience won't understand that part. Kedma has a series of superhero capes that are
Yes.
like, I believe they're like silk. They look really
Yeah.
fancy. They're beautiful in different colors with a beautiful dress. And she wears them and puts out videos on LinkedIn. So if you aren't following her, I'm going to put her information in the show notes. You have to see this. And she calls herself the small business superhero. And she
Right.
truly is. She truly, as you guys know, I'm getting goosebumps listening to your story. So this isn't somebody dressing up and trying to get attention. This is somebody who has been dragging herself along the bottom of the ocean and found
Right.
a way to get back up for air. So I just want to acknowledge that and let people know what the cape reference was about. So sorry to interrupt you.
No worries, no worries. And actually, I just want to add so we can be super real. The cape actually came before my bankruptcy because I grew up in a very difficult environment. And at age 18, I had to go into hiding for 5 years. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot. And basically, a group of strangers gave me an opportunity for an education at my college. And then, so 30 years I'm on this journey to really open doors and make it a safe place that if people talk to me, I'm going to be straight up and honest with them. However, I don't do baking. So if you come to me and say I'm a great baker and can I make great, muffins, or no, I'm awful. But in this space, it's what I know. And the reason I call myself a small business superhero is because I have won awards upon awards by SBA. It's not just me calling it out. I have so many awards. My husband says, don't bring any home. We're done. You've done it. So, I'm very passionate because I cannot stand when people don't have access. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. I want them to have access and then they can go and build the company they want. Actually, today, for your audience only, I will show you 3 different funds that are not tied to credit. That, now it's obviously depending on who they are and what they're doing, but I want to just show you the power of what we do so that they can see it. If it's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So first thing I want everyone to know is it is so important that we understand the variables. Every single person I ever meet has variables that are unique to them. And you just mentioned some. Let's say I'm working with a individual that identifies as a woman, African American veteran, who is starting a business in the tech field, based in California. The variables could be geographic, California, could be within the city of San Francisco, so another geographic. Demographic could be African American, gender, female, status, military, veteran. Right now, just in that quick example, I have 5 variables, and each of those variables have separate funding I can go after. So when we talk about target funding, if you ever get my book, we have chapters just for women, just for minorities, just for inventors, because we know that money is tied to variables. And once I identify the variables with any of your clients, literally we can go after that funds and target and win those funds. That's the difference. It's very specialized. So now I'm good. Any questions on that? Because I'd love to show some.
Yeah, no, I'd love to continue, because this is really, you've got my interest, because I don't think many people think of it that way. They think of those as disadvantages. They think, I'm a woman.
Oh, no.
I just had a coaching client yesterday who was like, as a woman, this is difficult. And as an African American, it's even more difficult. So instead of seeing those as potential pass down funding, they see it as roadblocks. So this will be very eye-opening for people to say, you can take what you think as a disadvantage and you can actually use exactly that as, the speedway.
You are 1,000% right. You are 1,000% right. In fact, I'm going to blow everyone out of the water by telling you, in 2008, I purchased my own commercial office. It's a beautiful 2,000 square foot office valued at $900,000. I was not required to have collateral. I was not required to have credit. Instead of putting 20% down, I only had to put down 6%. But here's the game changer. Since 2008, so for the last 12 years, my interest is fixed at 0.04%. So for the audience members, less than 0.5% interest. You tell me any bank anywhere in the country that's going to give you 0.5% interest or less, and I will send you $100 gift card right now. It does not exist. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the only reason I was able to get into it is because I was a woman. You had to either be a woman, a minority, or an immigrant to qualify for this special program. And it was not through the banks. So whoever is listening and saying it's a disadvantage to be a woman, it's a disadvantage to be African-American, it's a disadvantage to be a veteran or disabled, I'm going to change the game for you today. It is an advantage, but you have to know how to play it. Okay. So I'm going to first open this up and I'm going to show you, for anybody who's looking at product development or new products, I'm going to share something. This is the U.S. Patent Office Pro Bono program. I work with inventors. Now, you're thinking about a new app, a new product, a new idea, a new concept that you believe has intellectual property behind it. But you come to me and you say, I can't afford these attorneys. I can't afford a utility patent. I can't afford to pay $10,000. If you fall under the income qualifications that the patent program has, now look where it says your gross household income should be less than 3 times federal poverty. So someone comes to you and says, I'm retired. Oh, I just got laid off. Oh, I'm only working part-time. That's where we want to apply.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I get them into this program, the entire cost for reviewing the application and having an attorney prepare the application, having an attorney prosecute the application is free. The only thing they have to pay for is the cost for the patent filing, which is usually under $500. Do you know how many times, Krista, someone has walked through my office door and I have to painfully tell them how much money they lost because they didn't meet with me first? All the time.
I'm in the same boat as a business coach. By the time people come to me, they've already DIY'd it, or they've paid for a lot of software equipment. They've paid for a website, sometimes 6 figures, and the website is crap because they didn't think who their customer was and they didn't tie it back to their customer. So I'm fully on board. One thing I want to say is how expensive trademark lawyers are. So I as a business coach have a rooster of trademark lawyers and attorneys I refer to when I see people
Yep.
come through. But now I'm considering, this is so eye-opening. I'm considering referring first to you before they go out, because a lot of times these are stay-at-home moms, these are retirees, these are former veterans, these are
Yes.
people, these are minorities. These people who I work with are from all walks of life, sometimes single mothers who have really nothing, and they're like, all my dreams, I really want to make something for my child, I want to show her a better life, it's not for
I
me,
get
it's
it.
for her. And they come to me, and it breaks my heart to think that, oh, well, they won't have the money to file for the patent. They won't have the money to do a trademark. And so anyone who's been in these shoes, if you don't have a trademark, it's really, I want to call out just one little example is
Yes, of
the
course.
founder of Spanx.
Yes.
So she's amazing, Sarah Blakely. And
Amazing.
when I think about that, I remember listening to a podcast where she describes how she had to try to trademark her intellectual property with her invention, and she became literally an expert in it. Um, she did DIY'd it all herself because she
Hmm.
said she didn't have the money to hire a trademark lawyer, so she basically found a downloadable template for a trademark application and a patent application. She filled them out herself with the help of a lot of books. And I've thought about that when I heard your story about this, because a lot of people just could never imagine. And those are roadblocks. And because of that, this is the saddest part, Kedma, they give up on their dream.
Yes, they do.
I mean, how many Sarah Blakeleys do we have out there? You know,
So many.
it's crazy because there's a million, but how many of them actually take it further? No, because when you're alone and you don't have the right people around you to advise you, and maybe you have kids, maybe you're a single mom, maybe you're working two jobs to make ends meet, maybe you're paying back debt. um
You
you
got
know
it.
so I'm telling you, there's so many people who could become a new Sarah Blakely if they
Right.
only had someone like you behind them, you know.
Right. Thank you so much. I think you're talking about the difficulty of navigating and access, and you're right. You're 1000% right. I want to leave your audience with two more things. So they're both powerful. This is a game changer. If you get my book, you'll see it, but it's a pain in the neck how we get to the map. This is an organization called Prosperity Now. I can't go into too much because it's a lengthy thing, but what I want you to know is that the government has a program called IDA. You want to look it up, Individual Development Account. Essentially, it's a hand up, not a handout. This is a map. Go on to prosperitynow.org/map. This is a map of every single agency that has it. This is hidden money, guys. This is hidden money because they're not going to be promoting it. Now, why does it matter to you? Now I'm going to tell you the game changer. All the way to the left, you're going to see things that say child savings account, individual development account, nonprofit of color. Imagine that single mom who's living in an apartment, who I get involved into one of these programs. And as a result of that, she gets to buy her first home. She gets to buy her first home. And now she can have her business working out of her own home and no more rent. That's the power of IDA. So IDA is a matched savings program, anywhere from 1 to 1, or it could be 1 to 5, or it could be 1 to 8. So if we take the house example, I get them qualified. They have to do some kind of savings. But let's say that they want to save for their first home and they make a commitment over the next 24 months to save $5,000. If they're in a 1 to 8 match, that organization will match them with 40,000. So that means they'll get 40,000. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 5,000, and that will become the down payment for their home.
Oh,
So that's just one kind of example. The people who fit into this are people who don't have a lot of income. But the cool thing is if we qualify them into their household income, that means if their household income qualifies, every single person over the age of 14 in that household can also qualify for the IDA program, as long as it's for different goals. So you could have a 15-year-old using it to go to college. You could have the mother using it for the home. You could have their partner using it for a business, building a business. That's the power of what I can do. But this kind of stuff is hidden. I mean, I would doubt anybody in your audience has even heard of IDA or Prosperity Now. I doubt it. But that's the power of what we can do when we're navigating to get them the funds they need.
Well, I'm speechless. I'm speechless because I think what you're telling me is like a foreign language, and I've been working with startups for so many years, Kedma, and this is just like completely on a different level, you know. It's definitely eye-opening for me. And I think that you're what you're doing is really changing lives.
And I have one more before we close, because I think the audience will love it. Here's the last one that's important. A lot of times when clients come to me, they say, I need an investor. I don't know how many times I've heard that thing, right? I need an investor. Even in the space of investment, it is targeted. So if someone says, I need an investor, I will target that. So I'm going to now show you an incredible program that I'm a part of, which is going to show you how clear I am in the power of investing. So here we go. This is the last one I'm going to show you. This is an organization called Pipeline Angels. Again, people have probably never heard of it. Pipeline Angels is women investors that are credited. So I am one of their investors. And we only invest in women-owned businesses or women who identify as women. Okay. This is an example of very targeted. When we talked about credit to not having the collateral, this doesn't matter here. What matters here is, do you have a great idea? Can it scale up? Is the market broad enough? And can I get my ROI? Can I get my return on investment for it? So you would just go here and you would look at the pitch summit. Here's the schedule. It's all on Zoom. So if you are based in the US and you're like, you know what, I am in for it, you can see exactly where they're targeting. This is where you want to step in. Now, I can't be the sole decision maker, but you've got a champion in that group that is going to navigate and tell you. So Wednesday, they're doing the New York class pitch. Then they're going to Philadelphia. Then they're at LA. I'm going to be in the Portland class, right? So I'm doing Portland. They're in Oakland. They have a global program. So that's just one example that if someone said, I need investors, and they happen to be a woman, I'm not going to just take them anywhere. I'm going to target that so that they can win. And that's what we want to say at the end of the day. It's not that someone is doing financing. It's not someone's consulting. I want to see their results. Did they help someone get to where they want to go? Because if they can't do that, it doesn't matter to me what they're putting on their blog.
You know, people come to me all the time with that same question. I need an investor. I want to find an investor. Can you help me get investment money? And, you know, there's so much that goes into finding an investor, qualifying, preparing a pitch deck, getting familiar with how to speak in front of an audience. One of the first things, being from Silicon Valley, that I coach people to tell them is, don't go into your idea and talk about it for an hour, because as an investor, my first question is, why will others care? So why is this going to bring me money? And I know that sounds very maybe rude to cut you off, and but I think the first thing I've noticed with people is they get so excited about their idea that they want to spend a lot of your time explaining to you the story behind it, why they did it, what it means to them. And as a marketer, I always say, we don't do marketing for the company, the brand. We do marketing for the customers. So you're an investor, you are my customer. So instead of me talking about me, I love this and my product is so good and look at all these features it has, I'm going to tell you, this is going to change your life. And this is why. And so as an investor, that perks up my ear. I'm like, tell me, why are other people, who's going to love this product and why? Who's going to buy it? And if you can't tell me that, you're like, well, I haven't thought that far. Then you're not going to win the investment.
People come to me and they want investments. I only have 3 questions. Now, obviously, if they pass those, we're good, but 3 questions. Said the first one, why should I care? What makes your product or company or service so different that I should give a damn? And how do I get my money back? That's all I care about. Why should I care? What makes you so different that it's like, oh, that I'm going to be blown away? And how do I get my money back? If you can answer those three, I'm super like, I'll give you 5 minutes. You can answer those three, then we can go to the next conversation. You can't answer those three. If you hem and haw, if you're not sure, don't even come and talk to me.
You know, in marketing, we call that the hook. So when you want to get the customer's attention and you're fighting for their attention, there's millions
Right.
other brands who are pitching the same thing. You got to go from up here down to here. So into the heart, and you have to reach out and grab their hearts. And
Exactly.
that can be shocking them. That can be grabbing their curiosity. That can be making them laugh. But in any case, people don't make decisions with their head. They make it with their heart, and then they justify it with their head. So the very first thing you got to do is hook them by saying my product is going to change the world because, and go
Yes.
into it. And then that gets my attention. I'm like, really? And it's almost like a challenge. Like now I'm like, tell me how. And to your point, it has to be short.
This is a very powerful story. When I got prior to getting my book, I had actually secured Target funding as my trademark, and my book agent said, look, I don't know why you went ahead and filed that, because McGraw-Hill or any publisher is going to choose their own name. You don't get to choose the name. And I said to him, Gary, love him to death, I said, Gary, that's okay, but if they pick my name, I own the federal trademark. They don't get to keep the name. Well, gosh darn it, the name of the book is Target Funding. And he went back and he said the author did her homework and she owns the name. You cannot touch it. Now, the thing you need to understand with trademarks is it's really based on the classification. So you can see exactly where no one can touch it. Now, if you're doing Target Funding, bakery, that's fine. But here it's very specific in financing, in funds, in grants. And to your point, it is so critical, because I have been on the other side where people have not filed a trade name, have gone into business for years and years and years, and then someone else files.
Yep.
Someone else files. And then you know what? They're blocked. They either have to change the name or they can't move outside of their geographic area. Comment, I want to go back because you mentioned something about differentiation, and we've probably heard it. I really believe a lot of what you're saying is 1000% accurate, that a lot of information, a lot of products have already been developed and it's hard to compete. However, where we compete is how we deliver it differently. So I'm going to do a quick pitch for anyone. Okay. Right off the cuff. I'm just not prepared for this. So please don't be hard on me. Okay. I've always wanted to have my own TV platform. I love hosting. I love the idea of it. Right. Now, if I was coming to an investor, right? So remember the three: why should I care? What makes me different? And how do I get my money back? I would say, ex-investor, I'm here to pitch the dolphin tank. The reason for that is we have millions of Americans every day who don't have the funding and don't have the resources and don't qualify for Shark Tank. They need to step into the dolphin tank. This is an opportunity for them to get the advice on stage in the TV show. And we are going to walk them through that so that they can get the money, not for us necessarily to be the investor. Why I'm qualified is because I've been doing this for 20 years and I am the everyday person that I can relate to. I can relate to being homeless. I can relate to people who are struggling. I can relate to bankruptcy. And how do you get your money back? By the number of advertisers that we will have involved and number of people that are going to watch the show. That's it. I don't know how long that took.
I wish I put my timer on, but I would guess that took you about 65 seconds or less to say. I think we've already covered some of the big turnoffs, like, coming and telling. I said one is like telling too much, because I know as an investor, that's not the person who wants to hear that. That's your friend. That's your mentor who would listen to that. But the investor is business. It's all about the money and the return. Do you have any other specifics?
Yes.
Because of your experience, like good things or bad things that really make a difference for investors?
Yeah, a lot of times people will say, do you think it's a good idea? This is the number one question. Do you think it's a good idea? And I often say, I cannot answer that question. I'm going to ask you, what do your customers say? And if they have not done a beta test, they have not done a market analysis, they have not gotten feedback from customers, don't waste my time. Here's a true story. A few years ago, I had a couple come. They were both engineers, both engineers. This is a really important story. They had already developed a product and spent $100,000. Now, if you have $100,000 sitting around, bless your heart. But the average American does not have $100,000. The reason they came to meet with me is they couldn't understand why people weren't buying their product. First question I said is, prior to you doing the prototype and the development, did you go out and ask people, would they buy it? They said no. Why should we ask? We know it's a great idea. We know that they want it. Why should we ask? Okay. Now, Chris, I'm going to tell the audience right now what it was. It was a diaper bag, right? Now, I have 3 boys. And so I, of course, at the time needed a diaper bag. But it's not just a diaper bag. It's a diaper bag that's also a computer laptop bag. So what this means is you could have your dirty diapers in one area and you can have your nice reports and laptop in another area. Who wants the smell of diapers and diaper cream and dirty diapers next to our laptop? Raise your hand if you're listening or watching. Who would like that as an experience? But here's what I will tell people. Just because an idea has never been done doesn't mean it should be. There's a reason why.
Oh my
We don't
God.
want
That is such a good story because, you know, you and I could probably talk another hour about stories because people come to me all the time with that. So most of the time they've already invested all their savings or
Yes.
they've even taken out loans. And sometimes they're like, my wife took out her 401k to do this and they're crying and they're like, we've spent all our money and we're exhausted. They never once bother to go out and talk to customers. Here's what I always tell people. I say, before you start anything, I want you to tell me exactly who your target customer is.
Yep.
And I have a customer avatar worksheet that we fill out that's 3 pages long. So, you know,
Awesome.
you put your
Awesome.
bones into it. Now, once you're done, you have a final draft. I want you to look inside your network, be it your friends, your family, your LinkedIn network, and I want you to do a search based on those criteria, you know, demographic, age,
Yes.
maybe race. I don't know. I don't know what exactly you're looking for, mother, not mother, income. So all the things that are in my spreadsheet there, take some of those and find me your target audience and find as many as you can. Now that you
Yes.
have a spreadsheet full of them and you've extracted them, I want you to call every single one of them. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell them, I have this exciting new thing that I want to talk to you about. Would you talk to me, have them sign an NDA, and then you ask them questions, what it's like to be a working parent, and do you have a diaper bag, and
Yes.
tell me what brands you like, and how
Right.
long do you have several, or do you just have one, and why do you use that one more than the other, or why don't you use a diaper bag? What would you like? What's missing? What's missing in the diaper bag? And what about your computer? What do you have a different bag for that? Where do you keep your computer? Do you find it hard to carry both bags and the baby?
Love this.
And then at the end, would you be willing to, can I add your name to my mailing list? Because I'm actually developing a product that you might be interested in. And I would like to let you know when it's ready for beta testing.
Love it.
And then you don't have to be a beta tester, but can I let you know when it's ready? And maybe you might consider if it works for you. They say yes. And then you've got like all these. So I'm like, you call everyone, and now you have
Yeah.
a bunch of research. And this
Beautiful.
research is priceless. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize that these people might not in the city, they might feel differently than in a suburb. And you know, so,
Beautiful.
and this
Go
is
to
how,
Krista for all of that. Go to Krista for all of that, because as an investor, you're absolutely right. I'm going to ask for that. I'm going to ask for the beta. I'm going to ask what did the customer say. And if you don't have that answer, you're at a disadvantage. I'll send you back to doing it because I don't know.
Kedma, people want to be technicians right away. And it's this, I think it's the the drive of being busy and accomplishing something. So they
Yeah.
invest their money to build prototypes. They
Yes.
spend all their time trying to sweet talk people into investing into their, and it's sad because guys, money is emotional as well. And if you
Yeah.
go out and you spend all your savings on something, you take your wife's 401k, you borrow money from all of your relatives, and then your idea
Right.
fails, how are you
Right.
going to feel? Don't do it. Come to Kedma
Don't do
first.
it.
Come to her and let her talk to you about funding
Yes.
options wherever you're at before you go out and burn through credit cards and borrow more money, because this is just, this is not the right way to do it. And then come to someone like me so that we can strategize how you're going to go after that investor, and I'll
Yeah.
help you with that. So she'll help you with the funding and I'll help you figure the rest
Love
out,
it.
all the details to get the pitch ready. And so I think we really need people like you and me on board when we're for
Yeah.
small business, because like you were at and I was at, there's not a lot of people out there. And especially one thing I know about you, that I think we're friends because of this. You have a really big heart. And I want
Yes.
to throw that out because guys, there's so many sharks out there. And
Yes.
you've been in business long enough. I've been in marketing 20 years, been an entrepreneur for 18 years. I have seen and heard so many stories.
It's true.
I had a guy who was an inventor who actually paid someone $15,000 who said he would go out and find someone like you to like funding and all this. He didn't know anything
Oh,
about funding. He didn't know anything, but he said that he would go
right.
out and do it. And this poor inventor
Oh, no, no,
was in a lawsuit against
no.
this guy. And he said it took him 9 months of BSing before he realized that this guy was never going to materialize anything. And then he
Did he
wanted
get his
his
money
money
back?
back.
Did he
And
get his money?
so I don't know, because when I met him, he got introduced to me as somebody who was an inventor who needed funding, and I didn't know you at the time. And I told this poor man, I said, please keep
Mhm.
your day job and get a lawyer and really,
Mhm.
see it to the end. And when you're ready, then it's time to do something with your business. But right now I would take a break from this because you've really put yourself into a hole. And stress wise, you won't make any good business decisions right now because this is hurting you. This is really
Yeah.
emotional. That's what I wanted to say last, is that if you work with someone like Kedma who really cares about people, so that's what I love about you is
Thank you.
I've watched you. We didn't get to meet for quite a while, but I've watched you for a long time. You show up, you're consistent, you're authentic, and
Yes.
your story is incredible. You're not just talking the talk. You're not in this for some fame and fortune. You really have been
No,
there, and you sincerely are helping the underdog, and that's what
absolutely.
I love. I love it. So thank
Yeah.
you so much. I really,
Thank
we
you.
could
Thank
talk
you.
another hour, but guys,
Yes.
just buy her book. Buy her book, because sooner or later we all have a dream.
One thing I'll say in closing is if you're out there and you feel you're alone, you're not alone. The fact that Krista's doing amazing stuff, she's creating this opportunity, she's giving people the opportunity to be on to converse about this, is her way of saying you're not alone. But you know where goals go to die? They go to tomorrow. They go to tomorrow. That's where they go to die. That's one of my colleagues told me that, and I never forgot that. So when you set a goal, set it today. Whether it's I'm going to pick up the phone finally and talk to Krista. I'm going to finally make that conversation. I'm going to finally figure out the avatar. I'm going to finally find out about the funding. Just know today is where it matters. There's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow.
Absolutely.
That would
You
be
and I
the only
live
thing I
in,
would conclude with.
we really live and breathe the same kind of philosophy. And I just want to add one last thing is don't be afraid of the hustle. Um, I think some people are afraid to hustle. They have this kind of fake idea that everything's going to be like when they're an employee. They're going to get funding and pay themselves salary. They're going to have a nice office. No, let me tell you, you either are going to work for someone else for 35 years
Right.
or you're going to struggle for a few
Yeah.
years. A
Yeah.
few years. I'm not going to promise you. It could be a year, it could be up to 7 years. I mean, I don't know if you look at some entrepreneurs, everyone has a different length of story, But when you see these get rich successful stories, that's not true. It's just the media and the journalists are showing the
Correct.
end result and they want to be sensational. But if you go behind the scenes, you'll see that these people weren't
Oh yeah,
successful for many, many, many years. So, guys, if you have a dream, you'll do anything to get it. It's not about the funding, it's about the hustle. The
that's
funding
right.
is just part of
Correct.
getting there. It's a tool, but it's not guaranteed. First, think about
Correct.
being ready to hustle. And once you're ready to hustle, guess what? The funding will come quicker and more abundantly. If someone
Yes.
comes and they
Yeah.
want an easy ride, forget funding
There's no
because
easy ride.
funding is real. Once you take that funding, you better show results. You better be willing to
Exactly.
hustle. So I just want to
Exactly.
add that. It's not
I
the
love it.
lottery. It's
Well,
not the
we
lottery.
may need another hour because we've gone way past, but I hope we impacted one person today from this, one person who felt or experienced or had an aha, got excited, because that's what matters, and we create a domino effect, so that's our goal. Let me know if you felt any impact from this, and obviously, Carissa, thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for just having.
Absolutely. And we'll put all your contact info in here and be prepared to get some calls here or
Yes,
some
I'm excited.
messages.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.